approach to this particular research. We still have, it's an ongoing study. The regional focus, as I told you, is in 3 districts of coastal Karnataka, Udupi, Dakshin Kannada and Uttara Kannada.
Gratitude of our panelists here who are here with us today, and it gives me great pleasure in welcoming first of all Dr. Shaphali Gupta, Professor of Marketing, MICA. Ma'am, please. Dr. Birud Sindhav, Professor of Marketing, University of Nebraska at Omaha. Welcome, sir. And Dr. Vijay Pareira, HOD People and Organization, NEOMA Business School. Welcome, sir. I now request Professor Pratik Modi, Professor at IRMA and Convener SMF 2022, to kindly welcome our guests with a floral. Okay, and a plate.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your invitation.
Thank you, sir. I now invite you to the dais to kindly introduce our panelists and then take the proceedings forward. Over to you, sir.
Dear participants, invited guests, and panelists of this plenary session, Editors Conclave publication in high quality journals. I'm thankful to all the participants, the universities that have sponsored your participation in the SMF. I'm particularly grateful to the panelists for this plenary session, sparing their time and coming to share their expertise, share their insights with all of us on a very important topic in our lives, which is publication, which is an important reality of what we do. And there's always scope for improvement for all of us, no matter how many achievements we carry, how hard we try, there's always something important to learn from the masters. I'm glad that I have an outstanding panel of editors to be here with us and share their expertise and experience. In no particular order, let me start the introduction. Let me start with Dr. Vijay Pareira. Dr. Pareira is full professor of strategic and international human capital management and head of department people and organization at NEOMA Business School, Reims campus, France. He is the associate editor, strategic management and organizational behavior journal, Journal of Business Research, and global real impact editor at the Journal of Knowledge Management. He has experience and expertise in consulting, industry, academia globally. Professor Pareira has published widely in leading international journals, to name only a few: Journal of Business Ethics, Harvard Business Review, MIT Sloan Management Review, British Journal of Management, International Journal of Human Resource Management, Journal of Business Research, just to name a few. He is currently on the editorial and advisory boards for the journals such as Production and Operation Management, which is FT listed, Journal of Management Studies, which is again FT listed, and International Journal of Human Resource Management. Dr. Shaphali Gupta, Professor of Marketing at MICA. She's Associate Editor of Journal of Business Research and Journal of Strategic Marketing. Her research interests are in marketing strategy, emerging marketing strategy, innovation and new age technology, customer experience management, customer engagement and advisory strategy. Advertising strategy. She has published her research in top tier journals such as Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, International Journal of Research in Marketing, Journal of Retailing, Journal of Advertising, Industrial Marketing Management, Journal of Interactive Marketing, and Journal of International Marketing, amongst many others. Dr. Birud Sindhav, PhD from University of Oklahoma, has published research in digital marketing, social media, B2B relationships, retailing and entrepreneurship. He teaches doing business in China and several other marketing courses. He has also taught in Finland, Austria, Egypt, and in India. He has received the UNO Alumni Outstanding Teaching Award, amongst others. His work is published in Journal of Retailing, Journal of Marketing Theory and Practice, Journal of Marketing Channels, and other outlets. He is on the editorial review board of several journals. I welcome you on behalf of 24th SMF participants, and would like first to carry the discussion forward, would like to first invite all my panelists to share their ideas, share their thoughts on the publication in high quality journals. Each one of them may be sharing their ideas, maximum 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have certain questions that probably will be debated. You can direct the questions at one of the panelists or the other panelists as per their answers. Probably will also have discussions or things to share. I would first like to invite Dr. Shaphali Gupta to present her take on what it takes to publish in quality journals. Dr. Gupta, over to you. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am?
He should go first. This is what everybody is saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I don't have slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. If there is a possibility of making a group up, I generally do that. So, beg your pardon.
That's a last moment discussion.
This was, yes, and so please keep this in mind. If you don't make slides, you get your way. You are first, okay? And first, thank you very much for being here. And in terms of this conference, my only interaction was with Pratik and Satyendra. I want to thank you for inviting me here. And I'm also humbled being in presence of these two superstars. If there is a contradiction between what I am saying and what they are saying, listen to them, okay? Don't listen to me then. As I understand, we are initially going to talk, just have our take on what it takes to publish in a top-tier journal, and then have maybe second round question, answer, etc. I am going to assume here that I'm talking to someone who is a PhD student or a new assistant professor. So that's my audience. Okay, that's who I'm talking to. And luckily, I have made many mistakes. So that is my sort of springboard from where I'm gonna jump off and start with something that really happened. So this was 2019, and maybe September, October, something like that. And I'm just scrolling through the news. I was on my desktop. I was just reading news, and I'm going to do some name dropping, and you have to forgive me because I can't tell the story without saying those names. So you are curious as a professor that someone is winning Nobel Prize in economics, and then medicine and chemistry and physics and all of that. So who they are, what's their affiliation, which university, and I'm reading that, and then I see Dr. John Goodenough. I know the joke writes itself. Dr. John Goodenough wins the Nobel Prize in chemistry. And I see the affiliation, University of Texas at Austin. Okay, that's interesting because that's where my daughter goes to college. Well, not only that, my daughter is in chemical engineering. And he is a professor in engineering school. Okay, that's interesting. So I do more research, and I find that he has written, some interesting books. And let me just summarize that, I'm a part-time marketing professor, but full-time I like particle physics, Quentin Tarantino movies, Murakami novels, you name it, all other interests are there. So I see that he has written a book that really interests me, and then I said, okay, let me just write an email. Now imagine, like, his name is just announced. He is receiving probably thousands of emails. What's the chance? But the good thing about email is it's free and it's fast. So I sent him an email congratulating him and saying that, my daughter is in your school, and just, I said, whatever. And then next day, he responded. And he said, yeah, that's right, so is your daughter. He said, send your daughter to me and I'll give her a book, the book that I asked him about. So next thing I do is I call my daughter. And I said, do you know that in your building there's a Nobel Prize winner? Like, he just won. She said, yes, people are talking about it. I said, okay. I said, he also said that go and see him. So there was a silence at the other end. And what do you think she responded? She's a teenager. And so she said, Dad, I'm kind of busy. And I'm like, being an Indian father, I'm like, okay, this is your once in lifetime chance. 4 months after today, this guy is going to be in Stockholm. The TV cameras of the entire world are going to train on him because he has won this Nobel Prize in chemistry. And he is saying that come and see me. So I just imagine in my mind that, okay, so you are kind of scrolling through social media and all of that, and you can't see him. It just doesn't make sense to me. So all of this is going on, and then what did he win the Nobel Prize for? He is the co-inventor of rechargeable batteries, okay? And the lithium-ion batteries. And I'm just thinking, so I told my daughter, okay, so here's the thing. You are busy. Most probably you are busy scrolling through the social media. A smartphone that runs on the rechargeable battery that this guy invented, that's why it's his fault that you can't see him. So my daughter didn't take it very well. And as far as I know, and I said, go and take a selfie with him, but it just never happened. And then I was thinking, is it a generational issue? Like, my generation doesn't understand her generation. And then I thought about it, and I realized it's probably genetics, because the apple has not fallen very far from the tree. And the reason is, when I was a newly minted assistant professor, a very prominent marketing faculty, he wrote almost earth-shattering paper at that time. I'm not going to say that name. And he invited me to join him. My answer to him was almost like my daughter's answer, I'm kind of busy. Another faculty member who is a superstar in marketing, and forgive me, I'm going to talk about marketing a little bit because that's like my field, but there's a lot of overlap in strategy, so I think it still gels. And he invited my committee member, and I said, okay, there's too much on my plate and I'm kind of busy. So my number one thing would be for publishing in top quality journal is, if you are here, if you haven't talked to these two, you should first of all get hold of them, okay, and talk to them. Find them when you're having coffee or something, and make networking your priority. You're going to go to all the sessions and everything. There is no excuse that I'm an introvert. No, it's, you know how to talk, just you can talk. And it's not like you have to make an agent out of it. No, if nothing happens, that's okay. It's just a nice, you met a cool person, that's okay. But talk to people, meet people, and find out what they're doing. There are 1,000 things to talk about. There is no way you can not talk about something with a stranger. You just have to, it's something you can train yourself into. And I can say that with a confidence because a very, very introvert person, last year our flight got stuck for 2.5 hours. I talked to a person next to me. She was a sommelier, wine taster, and she told me everything that she had to do in the wine tasting school, and it was just such an enlightening conversation that, what goes, you can talk just the curiosity, what makes you a social scientist, and we are all social scientists. PhD is not MBA on steroid, okay? And I'm saying that because, I'm asked to be external reviewer for PhD thesis for some of the schools. I received the thesis, and it's like, okay, handloom market in Andhra Pradesh. That's not a PhD thesis, okay? I'm not saying that's not useful. Please remember, understand the difference. I'm not saying that's not useful, but that's not the PhD thesis. PhD is not MBA times 5. PhD is a different beast. You are a social scientist, just like any other scientist. And the things that drive you, the curiosity, that was one thing. But then we are human. And the social thing is what drives us in our endeavor. We don't realize it, but if you go in some other field, you talk about medicine. There are papers, pretty common, there are 25 co-authors. If you are in a medical lab, if you are a janitor, if there is a janitor, the janitor is the co-author. That person might be just cleaning bathroom. But visits the lab, that person is a co-author. So networking, you're finding a mentor, someone who can show you the ropes. It shortens the journey. And as I say, that learn from my mistake. Like those are the mistakes that I committed. And I think, those are very, very important things. And if I have to, and I'll expand on those things later, I have, you know about the RRR, right? 3 R's. So this is a sequel to RRR. There are 4 R's. So one is, are you really into it? R as in R. The second one, and the third and fourth, the second one is the resources. The third one is the relevance, and the fourth one is the rigor. So these are the 4 R's. So I'll come back to those. The first 2, are you into it? So my advisor, Dr. Lush, and you can see it. He said, this is a game of poker, okay? This is the best job in the world. This is the game of poker. I don't want to quit it. I don't want to leave it. That's how much fun he was having doing what he was doing. So he was, and this is like how I lucked out. While I was a PhD student, he became editor of the Journal of Marketing. And he asked me to be his graduate assistant. So because it's being recorded, I'm not going to tell you all the stories, but they are very, very interesting because I knew the plumbing system of the journal in terms of, all the reviews going out, they're coming back. My job was to read every manuscript that comes in. So in 2 years, I read, I think, about 800 manuscripts. And that kind of, gives you mental exercise, that works your mental muscle. So I think, summarize the manuscript, give my thought, what I think about it, find reviewers, suggest reviewers, and then we send out. And so that was like 2 years I did that. And that taught me many valuable lessons. So I'll talk about those then if time permits. So that was, are you into it? Do you enjoy it? Dr. John, good enough, I talk about 97 years old when I received email from him. Today morning I checked, he's still alive, 100 years age. And he goes to office every day, okay? He goes to office every day at this age. Imagine that. We are talking about retiring at 59 and a half or 60 or whatever. At the age of 97, I was talking to him, he was going to office every day. He enjoyed his work. Do you enjoy your work like that? So that is, are you into it, for first R. The second R is the resource. Resources part. Having, this mentoring and all of that I talk about. That is creating resources for yourself. Okay, and I'll talk even more about that. Resources, very practical implications in terms of this is where you find database. This is how, you go about finding database if you don't have money, or what kind of research positioning you should do, things like that. The third and fourth, which is relevance and rigor, I think I'll come back to that if time permits. So thank you for listening.
Should I? You're going.
I'll go last.
Before I invite Dr. Shaphali to share her thoughts, I would like to thank Birud Sindhav for sharing the wonderful story of her daughter, which also basically resonates with all of us. And particularly with me, it reminded me of how when I was a doctoral student, I said no to the offer from Journal of Marketing editor to collaborate with him and write a paper with him because I was busy completing my thesis, and I continue to pay dearly for that mistake. The other part, as he rightly said, I think importance of networking and connecting with experts and the formula of 4R. I think these are valuable lessons, Professor. Thank you so very much. And now I invite Dr. Shaphali Gupta, and I forgot to mention she is now Mani Iyer Chair Professor at MICA. Dr. Shaphali, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. These are new updates, so all right. Thank you so much, Virud. I believe he has set up the stage so well with the storytelling, and I come from MICA, and we always tell our students, not just the PhD students, not the faculty, even to our PGP student, if you know how to tell a story, you have arrived. So telling a story is something which we all should know, and I believe that's the beauty of telling a story, that you can actually engage from a 1-year-old to the 99-year-old, or maybe beyond that. So thank you so much for 100-year-old, or maybe way before that, because now we are in the age of getting the technology. Maybe we will be alive till 150 years. So, before I start, thank you so much to SMF and Pratik. I have to just see. Wait, I believe this is not the right slide. So, can I just open my email ID? Professor Pareira, can you just go ahead?
You want me to?
I will take 2 minutes.
Yeah, take your time, please.
Can you just take it out?
I think till that happens, probably we share our stories as well. Yeah. I think the importance of networking cannot be stressed, and the opportunity. And also, all of us may not be lucky that a journal editor gets to us, so that you live to regret. So in that case, what do you do? So it's a saying, if opportunity doesn't knock, you build a door, which means you create your own opportunity. Okay? You can't wait for opportunity to come, so you create the opportunity. How do you create the opportunity? Already is that network, but self-belief. But patience is the game. I believe all modern scholars across the world, also in India, lack that virtue. So patience, I think, is extremely important, because you can't get there and you can't compare each other. Don't look here or there. Look within and look outside at your opportunities. Because I think I hear a lot, X did this and X did that, and X is not as intelligent as me and doesn't work as hard as me. That is X's story. What is your story? Okay? Make it very personal. I think that's very important. Shaphali, maybe? Yeah, the other thing is as well, I don't want to encroach on my own presentation right now, but just generally picking up on what our colleague said, is that know the people in your network. How do you build that network? Is you attend conferences. Okay? Also, when you do contact somebody, genuinely all are good people. Okay? But there is a way to do it. How many times I've received, hello sir, and the next sentence, before I can even reply, is, I want to collaborate with you. But I don't even know you. Okay? Yeah? So there is a way. I was telling a student this morning as well. So how do you go about doing this? Okay? Do something yourself first. Yes? Write a couple of pages. not a whole manuscript, with your ideas and how you approach the person. This is a key. Can you please advise me on how this idea can be developed? Don't say you collaborate with me. Let the collaboration come from them. Okay? Because they want to interact with, if not equally intellectual, but some intellect person. Remember, academia, everybody has a big ego. I'm telling you in advance. You have to massage that ego. You need to understand how to play the game, as our colleague here said. It's a game. And I'm on camera, but I will still say it. I can afford to say it. It's a game. We need to understand it. The sooner we understand it, the better it is. There are rules and there are unwritten rules. But that's not the only route to success. What is then? The last 2 points that were left that we will probably carry up: rigor, relevance, contribution, theory, all of these things, which I will briefly mention later on.
If I may ask a question here, since we're talking about publication in high quality journals, right? And we know now the culture has changed, the academic culture in India has undergone kind of a shift from the time, maybe a decade back, where hardly anybody would publish in international journals and there was no consciousness about the ABDC or any kind of ranking, to now we see that most of us probably have some A, B kind of publications available in India. It's just that probably we want to now break the barrier and get ourselves into the top league, if to say so. Now, many times the question I've heard, or the dilemma I've heard from many academics, is that whether the time invested in getting one shot at the top league is justifiable, is justified in terms of the return it gives me, or I'm better off having maybe 3 or 2 A's out of it from the same time that I would get probably one real top shot. So what would you advise to early career researchers who face this dilemma, whether more the merrier, I'm better off 2A or maybe 3A or maybe one real top league publication, sir? Yeah.
Well, I want to just clarify one thing, which is, talking about ABDC, and ABDC somehow has become sort of a gold standard. Everybody uses it, but if it's for their purpose. Like there, I mean, it's for Australia and New Zealand. If you have a journal, you want to get it included in ABDC, you write them letter and see their response. They're not even going to respond to you. Someone from Australia or New Zealand has to write that we want to include this journal in their list, then they will consider. Okay? It's for their purpose. Let me tell you something else. If you say a journal, which journal do you mean? A means what? In marketing, every third journal on ABDC is either A or A star. Every third journal. In strategy, I think it's little stricter because it's every fourth journal. Are you talking about top 25%? Is that what you mean by A? So that's one. Second thing is, if you go to, I'm not talking about Ivy League school, if you go to like a Big Ten, like our Nebraska system, Big Ten, you publish in Academy of, there's a Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, JAMS, which is one of the top 5, right? It doesn't count. It has to be either Journal of Marketing Research, Marketing Science, or JCR, Journal of Consumer Research. If it is strategy, it has to be the Academy, tell me the number, the AJR, AMJ, yes, or it has to be admission quarterly, or it has to be SMJ. And you go below that and say, well, we will think about it, okay? So things have become really, and I'm talking about just like we had someone and we had 2-hour discussion on this, and they said, it's almost bizarre. I'm talking about University of Nebraska, Lincoln, I'm talking about Michigan State University. So these are good schools, but these are not Ivy League, okay? But you need now 3 A journals, and their A is top 4. Not even top 5. So game is up over there. So there is always then corresponding effect on other schools which is going to happen and happening. So that's just I wanted to clarify what does A mean in our discussion.
Yeah, apologies for that. That's what exactly I was telling Pratik, that you have put in the PPT pressure on us last evening. I did something, but I brought the wrong PPT here. So, and I checked, it was in my email, so I just had to make two amendments there. So, apologies for that. But yes, I was hearing my both panelists, and I will go by what Professor Pareira rightly mentioned. That especially, like talking about that when it is worth spending time on publishing like A paper. So of course, first define what is A for you. Again, the context, what Professor Pareira just talked about, that if we talk about the US context, where the A starts with the UT, right? Or if you are publishing in FT50, right? So for them, if we say that, oh, we got some A publication, like in our Indian terminology, or many times not just in India, even in the Europe, it is happening so rampantly, right? And so if ABDC, certainly the definition of ABDC itself says it is Australian Business Dealing Council. So it is working fine for them so far, right? But if we are becoming competitive at a global level, and when we say global, we cannot just isolate ourselves just being the Indian name. So coming from the PhD student, forget about PhD, even the faculty, they just put it in the garbage bin because they know with their experience what would probably have come out. But things are changing drastically. It is no more the same stuff which we are seeing. The kind of people now evolving in the research in our landscape is phenomenal. We have great ideas with us, but yes, at the same time, we just need to nurture some of those skills which were, I won't say that it is our weaknesses, but can we build on that and become more stronger? Like for an example, your own native language. We say because we are not native English language people, that's why writing the research paper is the language comes rough. But at the same time, if we say that, no, I should, demean the language Hindi or any native language, then it is not right. The best of the ideas, just look at Japanese. Look at Chinese, how well they are doing in the world. And you see what they read. They read in their native language. The kind of books they read. In their school, they are actually learning their own languages. And that's mandatory that not just Hindi, but the state language study Gujarati. If you are in, some other state of your, like Assam, so you should, be reading wherever the script is there, you should be knowing that. Because technically, our mind is like this, that ideas come in the native language. Until you are so very well ingrained from your childhood that you think in English. The moment you feel that you have started thinking in English, then you are fine. But if the thinking is happening in Hindi, and you're writing English, then there would be an issue. So maybe for that, you can get a skill. Learning English is just getting another skill. So once you get it, and then you're fine, right? So again, there are a few things because I had to, make some makeshift arrangements. So, I'll be talking not in terms of storytelling, very clearly on what works and what doesn't, at least from my own experience as an editor and as an author, right? So, these are some of the questions, right, which Pratik actually sent to us last evening. That, okay, what does it take, and, how do editors accept or reject the manuscript, or how the review process is different in top tier journals, and whether it is invested, like you have already asked this question, and how should one approach in publication in top tier journals, right? Now, building on this, and coming to what we would just, actually talked about, well, probably Apple must not have fallen, right? So, what it does not publish in top tier journal is this. Whether it has fallen your head, or it actually had fallen in somebody's head, and you are actually thinking the context, taking that context and putting the orange there. If you are doing this, it will not work out. So now I will not take that powerful I letter word here, right? But that is where we really need to figure it out. Now look at the research, the kind of, I know so many faculty members are sitting here, so many PhD students are sitting here, and how many replication studies are happening in India? Forget about replication of Western context, bringing to the Eastern context or emerging context. I have seen manuscripts coming that, just in Tamil Nadu, just in Maharashtra, or in North India, or in India, would it really work, right? So that you need to figure it out. So if it is there, you can think of that, yes, somebody has curated something very well for, or the low impact, right? Now, why do you really, care for publishing a paper? Pratik, you asked that question, I was busy doing that, but I would, I want you all to reflect on some of these statements which I'll put it now in front of you. That why it is important and why people crave. It is not about getting the next promotion, getting up in the hierarchy. In academics, any which ways we only have, just 2 to 3 hierarchies. You join as an assistant professor, you become an associate and you become a professor, and maybe at some time you become a chair professor, right? So now with that, what is that which is actually telling you, or maybe within the context where you are in, you might become the professor by doing probably publishing in those A journals, because ABTCA, my institute values it, and who cares what is world doing? This is my small world and I'm doing fine. So growing from there, but we still all, we have the desire that we need to do much better than what we are doing. So what is that academic desire, right? So something that, work can create impact. So when we say that impact, what is important? Not just for academia, are you solving industry problem? Are you helping, you're teaching MBAs? Are you solving some management issues there? The business are keeping an eye on it. So when you publish it, they read it. They reach out to you, right? And your frameworks may become the next McKinsey framework, right? Visibility of your work. People read it, your work, your work become visible to the world. Low-tier journals, people don't pay attention to. Top-tier journal publication, people pay attention because there are less number of manuscripts published in a year. Maybe the quarterly they are publishing, or maybe the half-yearly the issues are coming in. Motivate others and provide future directions. So you are not just growing for yourself, but you are also helping others to grow, giving directions to the people. Creating knowledge, which is the most, I believe, the sense of accomplishment and the sense of peace which we get as an academic or being in academia, that I can take my knowledge to the classroom. That is the beauty, right? Otherwise, what if I always tell that, are you filling the ocean or you are taking the water or the drops out of the ocean? Even if you are putting a single drop to the ocean of knowledge, which is your profession, which is your life being an academic, that is more than enough, right? So are you contributing or just broadcasting? So that is something which you really need to take care of. Now the word comes academic rigor. We say that, well, we maintain the academic rigor for sake of not just being academic and doing teaching, but that rigor of doing something that we say that, a lot of people over here, those maybe, I don't know if you have read some Vedas or literature or Sahitya, right? Those guys have actually given that toil, writing those kind of scriptures so that the future generations can read and reflect. Can you create that kind of work? That future researchers or even, anybody who is reading it can figure it out that, okay, it has some value, let me keep. I'm sure that in everybody's bookshelf, there must be some papers which you must have read multiple times, but you just love reading those papers, if it is emerging out of you. And the process of transforming the cognitive and intellectual ability towards the inquiry. Not just seeing things on the surface. I believe every PhD program tells you to do this, that can you read undercurrents? can you see what is happening on the top? Ocean looks pretty calm. Can you read the undercurrents of the ocean? That is what the research and the researcher's job is, reading the undercurrents, not just being on the surface. So when you look at the apple, you're actually questioning those ripples, undercurrent ripples. But when you're just putting the ocean, you are saying, okay, it has worked, maybe it will work in the same context here, let me just figure it out. Right? Very quickly, I'll take you to the manuscript process because this is one of the things which, like how it is different from the quality journals versus another journals, and I'm sure that you must be aware of it, but just to brush up those things, and if you have any questions, please, you can pose those questions, we can take the questions.
Maybe in the end.
All right. Yeah, like for anyone you can pose the questions, or you keep the questions to yourself and ask later on, that what exactly is the process. So if we see in the, what is like my personal experience with the low tier journals, you submit to the author submitting to the EIC, right? And then EIC will probably share directly to the reviewers, or sometimes you have the A and 2 reviewers, right? So the editor-in-chief will send the article to the area editor or the associate editor. Area editor again is a top tier connotation. Usually it's an associate editors it will go to, or in associate editors again if it is a functional area basis, like in the marketing strategy AE or the CBA, or depending on the expertise, it goes to the AE, and then AE will send it to the for reviewers, for the blind review. Now the top tier journals, what usually happens is that this layer may have maybe 3 people. You have the the regional editor in between, and then the area editor, or then the associate editor. So your filtration of the manuscript happened here when we say the desk reject, or it has crossed the EIC but then it got rejected at the A desk, or it has been crossed but then it has become like went to the first round of your review, which has gone to the reviewers. The reviewers, it would be for the quality journals, it would be all 3. Like most of the time, Saurabh, it's 3, right? Rarely we get to see 4. Sometimes they are here 4, but then it becomes really difficult to take, to deal with those comments. But usually it is 3. In the low tier, you will get either sometimes 1 or just 2, right? You will not have any. And once the reviewers send their comments, what happens that it will come to the AE. Now here is the catch. And maybe Birud and Vijay would talk about this thing, that in the low tier journal, what I have seen, whatever reviewers has sent, A will directly send that to the EIC. Rarely they will, have a look at those things and put their own comments, right? And the comments also would be shorter. But if it comes to the quality journals, like the top tier journals, you are ready to receive at least 5 to 6 pages. Every single reviewer will send at least 2 pages. So 2 pages multiplied 3, 6, 2 pages by AE, 8, then EIC comment. So it is a complete, half manuscript which you get as your review comments. That is the kind of rigor which the top tier journal brings. Now you need, one, the paper is being rejected. You got 6 to 10 pages to read. About that, the work is nothing. Like what you are thinking is, is not making sense. So that kind of strength you have to build in your head, that how will you deal with that, right? So that is the difference. And those who have submitted so far in wherever journal, I'm sure that you can identify with what I'm saying, getting just half a page, 1 page, and that is done, or getting 10 pages. What does it mean on every single aspect? So that is how, things happen. Then the process, with babies on the reject, desk reject, minor revision, major revision, all of that, the process will continue, right? So I'm not getting into the nitty-gritties of that. And once you put the revision, you have to prepare the response to reviewer, comment, draft, and then you will send it to, and the same process will start, right? If you have any question here, because usually audience get the question at this point in time, keep it to yourself and you can pose it later on. Now very quickly, it's like what exactly has happened? Again to the question what Pratik was talking about, that how do the editors decide when to reject, when not to? And there where the first level of screening which comes in, that the powerful I-letter word, which is idea, right? Whether idea, that is like again seeing the apple falling, that's an idea, right? And we say that idea can change your life. That idea will actually make your paper survive, right? So is it interesting? Is it, changing the thinking? Or is it just the obvious idea? What is so new in that, right? I was just like, when I was coming to IRMA, one of the students was in the car. She was talking about that what they do in the field work, some of the research things. So she did something, and then she said like, we browsed something. And I, what was your finding? And this, that's why this we know that why people are migrating from village to the city area, because of money, because they want to do something better in their lives. What is the third thing? This is very obvious. Now, if you say that, oh, I collected, 500 people data on this, and I got this. This is obvious, right? So think about it. Second, so if it is getting here, the idea is not what it is. It is just reject clearly. The just rejection will happen. Then the rigor. The rigor comes in the method side. So before somebody comes to the writing, oh, because I don't write well, that's why my paper is getting rejected. It is not. I have seen editor in the method. Whether the method has the rigor, whether it is an empirical paper, whether it is a conceptual paper. In the empirical paper, whatever tools and softwares you are using, whatever method you are using has the validity. And conceptual, whether you are bringing the right set of argument with the right set of validity and reliability attached to it. Then comes to the integration of writing. So integration of writing is the third step, which usually is being seen by the reviewers, not by AE and EIC. Right? So integration of writing between all the sections, across the sections, whether there is a story happening here, like I told you the power of storytelling, is exactly the same. You are actually writing a story. It is a technical story, but writing a story. So your first sentence, what you start at the abstract or the introduction first line, should actually be integrated with your last line, which is an implication line. What usually happens, you make big, like claims in the introduction, we are doing this, but what has happened at the end, we are not able to actually see through that whether you have done it or not. So that integration is extremely important. And then fourth, which is like relevance. Whether whatever you are doing is relevant or not. Professor Pareira was talking about the rigor and relevance. This is what the rigor and relevance, like you are doing a management research. Who cares if the work is not actually implementable? So can you bring this implementable integration in your work? Now don't see that, oh, it is so tough because it's a managerial thing. Do it for policymakers. Do it for society. Do it for your own, like community. So it is not that it is always for the MNCs. It can be for anybody who is the audience for that paper, right? So now let's just think about like interesting, the idea. When to start writing the idea. Very quickly, I'll just take through that how do I generate valuable ideas. So generating the ideas usually for me comes from these different sources. Which is like reading the article but read the best. This I have learned during my PhD program. I was reading some low-tier journal articles, it was not fascinating. I started reading the top-tier journal articles, I started dreaming of writing those ones. I literally had the dream of publishing in Journal of Retailing while I was doing my PhD. I couldn't because my thesis was on retailing, but I couldn't at that time. So it was the one which I published recently was a kind of dream come true for me because I worked on emerging market retailing and it got published in the journal where I wanted to be, right? So when to start reading and read the best. Talk to the manager, your self-quest as a consumer, your self-quest as a professional. Co-authors, when you talk to, If somebody has some idea, okay, let's develop something. Your students, you go to the classroom, attend conferences like this, collaboration, traveling. 2 of my papers are coming from my travel experience. What I saw, what the university students were doing in China. So basis on that, we are developing one paper, right? So likewise, there are two such ideas which I got just from my traveling experiences, right? So this is again one of the paper which we published in Journal of International Marketing. This was, again, it was already a published work on customer engagement. And I was teaching international marketing at MDI Gurgaon. I was at MDI at that time. So, and while I was teaching, I had many questions because this customer engagement I was working on. And I said that can we really make this framework, which has already been published as a customer engagement framework, in the global context. So started brewing that idea in the head and took that idea, or in fact those questions to the classroom. I literally had put forget about these yellow boxes, just the blue and the red boxes. I put that framework to my students, on one class, that do you see that can we do something related with the culture here? How would we do it? Right, so some of the discussion came in that no, this path, here I feel that's something. So those kind of discussion happen. So involve your own students to validate your ideas, whether it is making some sense or not. So that's how this happened. And then I collaborated with those who published the customer engagement paper, the framework. And then this beautiful piece came out in the Journal of International Marketing. So what my philosophy is that read, reflect, explore, and act on it. And again, at the same time, idea really fades quickly. So you really need to work on it fast. So you cannot just say कि मैंने सोचा है मैं काम करूँगा, right? That doesn't work. So you really need to work on it. Okay, now working on the valid thing, methodological rigor. So methodological rigor, again for the conceptual thing, for the conceptual papers, for the empirical paper, how do you do it, right? So these are some of the tips which I use when I work on any conceptual pieces, because over the past few years, the grip on the conceptual pieces have gone up. And being a mathematician as a, training in the undergrads and postgrad, it was a new thing for me to learn, right? The conceptual rigor thing, which I learned during my PhD program. And it really have paid me well because I could actually explore those kind of queries which really doesn't have any data available. You just question something which is not there and you're actually doing it, right? So for that, what do you need? You really need to jump in that ocean or a river and you need to see undercurrents, what is happening there. And for that, you need to talk to people. You need to actually in touch with people. So that's how, some of the things I do, one thing I would say that worked for me, whatever I do on whichever topic, I will not see that, oh, this paper only needs managerial data. Why do I need to talk to customer? Why do I need to talk to suppliers? Why do I need to go to academicians for that? What I do is 360-degree view. I'll reach out to each and everyone who might have a remote connection with that whole idea. You never know that from where do you get that argument thing which will help you to survive the review process. And many times I don't put all of those in the first version of the paper. Saurav is laughing. Yes, right? So in the first version of the paper, but like I say, keep it for the review process. No clear question पूछेंगे, तो भी हम let many times the complete table, complete figures, keep it for the review process. Second version में देते हैं, right? Because any which ways, the review will come. So this is again one of the very, a work which is very close to my heart. It is on the grassroots innovation, understanding the feasibility and value of grassroots innovation. It got published in JAMS, which is an FT50 journal. And for these 2 years of kind of exploration in the field was phenomenal. And then, of course, the result came out in a good light. Again, integration of ideas. How exactly I integrate, right? Usually it is more like from the very first moment, setting up the outline. I've seen many times people just start writing, they don't actually internalize themselves how the story will look like. That structuring is extremely important. So whenever you write, try to write, maybe you can make a tree form thing that, starting from the topic, that how many sections it would have, how the, the whole manuscript will look like. So that really helps a lot. And then some of the do's and don'ts of writing, which I follow, and I'll just quickly take it to some of the do's and don'ts, like in terms of introduction. Right? Do we have time, like 5 more minutes?
Yeah, maybe
5 minutes, right?
Yes.
All right. So introduction, I say some of the W's and H's has to be there when you write an introduction. What is happening here? Why is happening here? How you did it and for whom? It answers all those 4 things. First level of screening, rigor, your integration of writing and relevance, right? So once you do it, and then, you're sorted in the introduction. So introduction, again, I'll tell you, as an editor, EIC focuses on introduction. Your introduction is sorted, it will go to the next level. So keep your introduction intact. Don't just have shortcuts there. It is an extremely important first 3 pages. And then A probably will have the focus on the rigor as well as on the last 3 pages or 4 pages, which is implications. So do not rush, because usually I have seen, even for the many students do it, everything they do, an implication just for some scribbles. We can do this, managers can, follow this, academicians, contribution to the literature is happening like this. No, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work in top tier, it doesn't work. You really have to sit through and think through and provide the strategy. So please go and read those papers and see that how do they do it. Again, research motivation in the center part of the manuscript. It has, maybe you can take a picture of it and read it at your place and reflect on it. If you have questions, you can ask me later on, sending me an email. But I've tried to bring in some of the important things. Professor was talking about some R's, right? That R's are important. I also say R's are important. So center part of the manuscript is rigor, rigor and rigor. So you cannot escape that at all. This is again some of the presentation of the research effectively, how well you can make the tables, how can you bring the make the pictures to the tables and all that stuff. Right? So when do you know that your submission, your manuscript is ready to submit? If you say iteration for 10 times, ma'am, I have done it like 5 times I have read the manuscript. So what? Go again. Literally I'm telling you, I can show you some of the folders, right? The kind of iteration goes. It goes to beyond, sometimes beyond 100. You never know how many iteration of the manuscript you have to do at your end so that it is perfect and you are signing. Again, at the same time, I'm emphasizing on, Professor Birud's this, that the networking is important. Networking is important, but what is more important is to remain in that network or to keep that networking, in good spirits. Many times what happens, you sign up for some assignment and you're really waiting, when would this collaboration be over? It is just getting too much. And sometimes you just, I say that you actually get married with that team, that you are not able to take yourself away. And why? When you respect them. It is not, oh, I have done it, everything is right, I am submitting it because I am the lead author. It doesn't work like that. So please value your co-authors. Only when all the authors are signing off, only submit the manuscript. Right. And before submitting the manuscript, it is always a good advice to send your paper for a friendly review, only to the trusted one. Take their views, the third party or the third eye view, that whether it is reading fine, because sometimes the researchers get the bias, right? Yeah, so this is what I was talking about, the implication part of it. This is again, in our journal of retaining paper, we have actually provided a complete strategic metric to the managers. So this is not the research, this is actually the managerial implication section where we have given them that how they can use our research. They need not to read the entire paper, just pick this metrics, read those 4 pages and you are done. This is the last slide, how to deal with the rejection. It is tough, you will get rejections. Nobody has spared with the rejection. Just 5 days back I got a rejection from a major journal. I worked on, just now, see Rishi had just received the rejection, right? Worked on that paper for 2 years diligently and had high hopes but got rejected. So just remain calm, sit on it, no need to react and write nuisance to the editors. This happens all the time, Professor Pareira, like people write and people really get nasty sometimes to the editors. We are not getting anything out of this editorship. Really, it is just an added work to us, which is serving to the community. We are not being paid for anything. So all the ERB roles, all the AE roles, all the editorial roles are being just to serve to the community. So be nice to them. Ask them if you have questions, but don't write nasty emails to them. That is also to have the goodwill in that particular journal remain, right? And then when you are done with all the hue and cry, then sit calmly, work on those comments, prepare the review R2R to the reviewers, and then start the process again. So again, 3P, which I suggest that patience, persistence, and perseverance is the key. Right, so with this, thank you.
Questions at the end.
Questions at the
end. Take it at the end in the interest of time. Thank you, Dr. Shaphali, for fascinating insights, explaining the editorial process and showing the process for producing quality research to us. I now request Professor Pareira to share his take on the quality publication.
Pratik, how long do I have?
10 minutes now.
10 minutes?
Yes.
I will take 9.5.
Okay, thank you.
And you add the time you took to move from the building as well.
Yes, that's for question answer.
Okay, mine are experiences, failures, and some success. And again, I will be talking as not only an editor, but also reviewer and author. So all of us not only edit, that's not the only job we have. We are also reviewing at times. In fact, as an editor, we review more papers than the reviewers who are lazy. And we have to be pushed, sometimes kicked, sometimes threatened. It is one of the world's most difficult job is not to be Finance Minister of India, it is to be an editor in a journal. Believe me, it is one of the most difficult jobs done purely as an academic citizen and not otherwise. And then of course, this pressure on us as well. We are also human beings, we also have a career, so we write as well. Okay? So it's all three in one. So when you see an editor, have some respect, as Shaphali says. And so my talk is about how not to irritate the journal editor. He or she is extremely powerful, but is very nice. Human being, wants to publish, but don't irritate. It's like a wife or a husband. Wrong thing at the wrong time, you're finished. Okay? So, I will talk about, given the time, 4 key areas of success. Both Shaphali and Birud talked about it. I will go a little bit deeper into these 4 success factors. Now, when you say success, I think I've been fairly successful with 200 some articles in the top ones. I review. I am on the editorial board for 15 journals, including FT. It's a life that leaves you like this, crippled. An appointment at the doctor to save me so that I can stand here and speak now. So it has its effect. Yeah, But success comes with these 4 things in top tier journals. I've been there, done it, it's not only me. Okay. So the first one, Shaphali very nicely talked about the idea and the importance of the idea. Yes, but how do you communicate that idea? Also Shaphali said in the first 3 pages in the abstract. Okay, so what is the problem, and is it a real problem, and where is the evidence that it is a problem, becomes one of the most important things. The editor has 3 minutes, the reviewer has 30 minutes for you to be going, your paper to be going in the bin, i.e. reject, or moving forward. So the problematizing, as I call it, is seen in your research questions or research objectives. How do you frame them? I have seen scholars write them at the end just before submitting, when it has to be written at the start. It's like going from here to Noida by road without a map. Yeah, and then saying, why did I go to Noida? I don't know. Okay? It's as simple as that. So, problematizing means identifying not only the gap, but how you are contributing to that. It's complex. It's one of the most difficult things in top tier journals because the editor has this much time. How can you grab the attention of the editor who has hundreds and thousands of papers coming from all over the world? Okay? You have a double-edged sword here. You come from an emerging country, as Shaphali says, and you have no command over the language, which is supposed to be secondary, but is seen very high because still it's English language journal. But even if you do and fill the cracks of English language, your research questions or your problematizing that this is an important topic to be researched or investigated because A, B, C. Okay. So, the first part of the movie, the first few chapters of a book, and the first few pages of an article are very important, including in cricket. The first 6 overs, we saw India lose the World Cup. We saw England win it. Why? Because the start was good. Good start, you're doing well after that. So problematizing, spend time on the idea, find the evidence that this is a problem worth investigating. Where is the wow factor in your problem or the problem that you have identified? That becomes very, very important. Next comes the middle overs. Contextualizing. As Shaphali said, the number of replication studies. Why do people even do it? Just come up with a new framework and that itself can be a paper. Also, many people get confused with context as being, Sir, India mein nahi kiya hai. Sir, North India mein nahi kiya hai. Sir, Jhansi mein nahi kiya hai. Sir, Asia mein nahi kiya hai. Is not enough. Not having been done and you doing it doesn't make it contextually contributing. It doesn't. Why was it not done? Also doesn't make it. What are we as scholars, the practitioners, the community, getting from it by you doing it becomes the contextually contributing factors. My study done in Anand on Amul is rare, is unique, is contextual because A, B, C, D. Spell it out. Sometimes it's glaring but it's not there. And the editor wants to help you. The reviewer seriously wants to help you. And good reviewers, good editors actually point it out. Even though it's a reject, they will point it out. maybe you should consider your contextualizing by naming A, B, C. But not everybody is so kind. Okay? Or they have the time. So contextualizing is clearly spelled out. And I think most papers from emerging countries that I read, I review, miss this trick. I can see it, but I cannot write it to everybody. So please be very, very careful in spelling out how your context is unique, how and who it will add value to. Not only the literature, not only the theory, which we will come to, are the most difficult things in a top tier journal, yeah. But who is it helping? Who will it help? Contributing to. That's the context. We started with storytelling, that's the conceptualizing. How can you bring everything together and show it as model or concept? Is there what I call the golden thread running through? Okay, so I ask the simple questions to my PhD students, to other scholars, to my co-authors, which I ask myself. Yeah. Where do the research questions come from? Sir, literature say. How do you identify the literature strands in your paper? Sir, reading say. Arey haan, reading say to hai. But where are they coming from? The right answer is the research questions. Do not write about X and Y with A and B in your research questions. Either change that or change this. Yes? That golden thread about your problem, about communicating your problem, about the choice of literature becomes very important. Because then you go off and do your very nice data collection, which is problematic, as Shaphali already said, because you have not designed the questionnaire to fit the context or your research questions. So now you're stuck with the data, and then you do a very nice, rigorous analysis, and what do you compare and discuss it with? If you do not have a good, critical, reflective literature. So you've done the hard work, in the middle was your wickets are going. Yeah. Also needs strengthening. Like Shaphali said, rigor, rigor, rigor at the center. That's your base. Because next comes the most important part, which is the heart and soul of a top tier journal, is theory. One of the most misunderstood and misused concept in academia. Okay. So what is theory? How do you identify which theory you will use in your paper? Now we keep all of this to the side and we go back to the extent and effort that is required to do the reading. Without the reading, there is nothing. There are no shortcuts, believe me. Okay? My Academy of Management perspective, we read 1,000 articles. Yes, at least. That's what it takes, because it's Academy of Management perspectives. It's a perspective given after you do many readings. So how do you decide which theory and what theory? How do you decide? So here is a simple tip. Not the only one. Please don't quote me on this. But this is my tip. What I do. After reading several papers, what are the 20 or 25 papers that are the closest to your research questions? Research questions I will keep going back to, because that forms the everything of your paper. Okay. And when you do a literature review of these 25 papers, you don't only do the literature review. You identify A, where are the authors from, what is their background, what was the method used, what were the results of contribution, and which theory was used. And then you ask the question, what is the theory that will fit my study. So that's very, very important for success in top tier journal. As an editor, as a reviewer, and as an author, these are the 4 golden rules that need to be followed. I will quickly, how much do I have time?
Maybe a few minutes and then we have question answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll run through this. How many times have we seen an advertising paper in a marketing paper, journal? Yes, advertising comes under marketing, but every journal, whether it's a 0 ranked and a 4-star or 5-star ranked, FT ranked journal, has what they call aims and objectives. How many of us even read it? It's there for a purpose. Read it and use it in your cover letter to show fit. Sometimes it's not obvious. So spell it out in the cover letter. This goes back to saying the importance of cover letter. We just submitted an org science paper, 6 professors. It took us 7 years to write. 7 years, just submitted, it's in review. Even if it gets rejected, I will be so happy that my org science paper went for review. I'll put it in my CV. Yeah. But it took 7 years, and it took 6 months to write the cover letter. Now you will say, that's just how foolish. Yes, but that's why it went to review, because you spelled it out. In your 1960 Org Science of July issue, the debate had started on this. It carried forward in 75. In 2022, we extend that. See how happy I feel if I was the reviewer. Imagine, Shaphali, you're getting this in JBR, it started in this year, and then straight to review. Because they've done the hard work. Which means there is awareness, which means you know and are part of that debate. It's not easy. Yeah. So fit or no fit. The dreaded C word, contribution, is great. Always has been, always will be great. What you mean by contribution? Your side of contribution may be different from the editor's. Yes? And that is why you go back to the 4 areas: problematizing, conceptualizing, contextualizing, and theorizing. That will form the basis of you to contend, this is my contribution. Identifying a problem in itself is a contribution. How many of us claim it? We don't. Yeah. One of my PhD students' paper in JBR was on breast cancer awareness advertisements in India. Now, we start the paper by saying India has the most number of breast cancer cases in urban areas. The World Bank, United Nations, World Health Organization, WHO. Yeah? So it attracts. Suddenly, the reviewer says, oh, okay. Yeah. So contribution, whether it's novelty or uniqueness, the key is not only saying, abhi tak nahi hua hai, but it is also saying, mere kaam se, or my work, will ensure that this problem is resolved or investigated and something found that will be helpful to A, B, and C. Is my paper method-driven or theory-driven? Certain journals will prefer either or both. So read the papers. If you want, informally ask the editors, sir, my paper is more theory-driven, is it okay? Identify in the aims and objectives what it is. Read the last few issues and see. So it could be A, B, or A and B. Okay. And again, sir, theory to hai. Yes. पर उसको यूज नहीं किया आपने. Yes, you have not operationalized it. Sir, what does that mean? Okay, ठीक है. Theory's definition is this. Your findings are this. How do you fit your findings with that theory? Simple. So is it developing that theory? Is it extending that theory? Is it provoking that theory? Is it challenging that theory? Yeah.
I think Vijay, we should open it up for question answer.
Yeah, I have one more slide.
Yes.
I have one more slide.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we talked about the literature. Is it an eyewash or is it critical and reflective? That's an important question. Shaphali talked a lot about methods, so I will skip that. Discussion, argumentation, the so what question, very important. Shaphali went through this. Try perfect. You learn as you go. You may be driving at 100 miles an hour with your eyes, and then you still can meet with an accident. Sometimes you are fully aware and still meet with an accident. Failure comes like this in academia, unfortunately. But here we are to live it. Because at the end, as I live in Champagne, I can't do without saying it. Yeah? When you get the paper, it's time to open the champagne. That's success. Thank you. I took my 9 minutes.
Yes, sir, 9.5 precise.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, I request panelists to come here and take the seats. And thank you, Professor Pareira, for explaining the golden thread of publication for all of us. Now, the floor is open for a couple of questions. I request you to kindly keep your question brief and direct. The panelists will answer them. Okay, so maybe you and then the gentleman over there. Thank you.
My question is, Pareira sir said, you got to be patient. Patience is the key. But if there is no opportunity, no one is knocking, you build a door. So, do I remain patient or do I work at it? How long do I wait? Is what I need to understand.
Can I take this question? Your name, please? Sukanya. From? Oh, you're from MBA, okay. So, Sukanya, very relevant question, and I completely identify with this question. I'm sure many of us identify with this question, but I'll tell you like one of our project, which I started with two another co-authors on that paper in 2015. I was at MD at that time, and it was an amazing set of data we had. It was a phenomenal work which we did in the paper. We submitted to the top journals. I will not take the name, you already know the name, like when we talk about the top journals of marketing, right? So two of the journals we hit, literally, and we knew it that this is the work and it would at least go in the review. It went into the review, it got rejected. Once it got rejected, twice it got rejected. Literally, because it was such a huge work which we were trying to fit in one paper, that it was actually not sitting, because at the end of the day, reviewers were getting confused, or maybe, they just felt it is too much actually being binded in one box and being presented to them. And then finally we thought that there is something which we have to do with this paper, because already 4 years were gone. Right, so then we sat on it as a team, and we thought, let's break this paper in two. So what we actually sometimes you need to do that we see that, oh, I did my hard work. We were also in the same boat, like sitting in the same boat, that 4 years we have put in this work, 5 years, nothing is happening. Every time we are getting the rejection, because we were actually aiming for UT. So it is getting. So then we thought we have to see from some other perspective, that how can we make it happen. We actually broke that work in two pieces. One submitted to UT, another submitted to another good journal, right? So that clearly one can see the contribution. and it is easy to read and understand. So I will not agree to your thing when you say that, oh, nothing is happening, nobody is opening the door, we are knocking. We have to work on it. When you get the rejection, you cannot submit the same paper to another journal because you never know for the same thing, the same reviewers are reading the paper because it's a blind review. I'm getting the paper from JB or I'm getting paper from Journal of International Market, the same paper submitting here and there. And they say, and abhi to reject kiya tha, फिर से आ गया, right? So you have to work on it. So what Professor Pareira was talking about, that maybe something is missing in the paper. Context is missing, theory is missing, integration is missing, rigor is missing, relevance is missing. So until you work on it, nothing will save.
No, I think, that's a perfect answer. I don't have anything on that. Now, any question? Yeah.
Yes, he has a question. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Professor Pareira,
My mic can be switched off.
I've got a question for you. And why you? Because you say don't irritate an editor. So some simple questions: how can we avoid irritating the editor while writing a heterodoxical paper? Because they say there is you are writing against the whole community and they may not accept.
You'll probably be surprised that the editor may actually be on your side. You don't know that. In most cases, he or she is probably on your side, but you will never know till you get a response. So maybe we should write it in a way that is more convincing, write it in a way that is a little bit more neutral, probably. Because of what we don't want in academia is us stepping on somebody's toes. Offending, it can be done in a nice way, but convincing the editor is probably the first step, and we won't know, but the chances of us not irritating the editor is probably being a little bit more, putting ourselves in his or her shoes, in the sense that, like we said, they're so angry and so irritated because of so much of work that they have. Every journal, small or big, is phenomenally receiving large numbers and has to cope with sometimes unfair decisions as well. I think I had a few questions, and we should understand that. It's obvious that if you are somebody in academia, the chances of your failure is lesser than if you are nobody. And so probably the tip is find that somebody to collaborate with. You may learn some things, but also the chances or the risk of failure get minimized.
Before any question, I have come a long way, just like Professor Pareira, and this is your home, I guess. I just want to make sure that I share one thing I wanted to share with you. You might not have a question, but I want to answer it. Is that okay? So if I were a PhD student right now, what would I do? Okay, like these are, abstract learning. This is fine. Like I want to, like, what would I do? Practical thing right now, like do it. What do we do? So I'm assuming that you first of all, because you are in, and I agree with you when you said this, Shaphali, that because you're in India, you can't publish in a journal. That's not true. You can absolutely do that. And again, sorry for I'm talking about Nobel Prize. I don't know why, but that's an example. Banerjee and his wife, yeah, they got 2019 or like Nobel Prize in economics. Where did they do their study? Rajasthan, right? How do you convince people to get Tika vaccination? And what they did was simple, randomized trial. Okay, so if you look at economics, it's just they're doing all kind of very sophisticated technique, this, that. But what they did was very simple. It was done in India. You look at, like, again, our scholars were talking about, look at the best paper. So what is the best paper in marketing that we have? And probably you have it in, in Academy of Management Review as well, which is the best article in a given year. Last year, it was about study done in Uganda, entrepreneurs, and it's like, just a randomized trial. You can, if you can pull it off, you can do it. People want to know about this thing. People want to know about like what is happening. The biggest story that is not told or undertold is the, poverty elimination that has happened in last 30 years. 700 million in China, 500 million in India. Get rest of the emerging world, and I think you're the director of the center, so maybe you have a better sense of the number. You're talking about close to 1.7, 1.8 billion people out of poverty. That's the huge story. American journal wants to know about it, and even if American journals don't want to know about it, who cares? It is still very, very interesting research, okay? And collecting data for that, I think it's much easier for someone who is closer to that kind of setting than not. So that is important. You look at data, the things like what else people want to do. Well, AI is hot. Analytics is hot. COVID, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Sue, Susan, and Mary is doing it right now. Okay?
Metaverse is another thing. Metaverse.
And okay, metaverse. But metaverse, the problem is, okay, first of all, let's define it. And you asked, let's not go there. Just look at the price of the Meta, META ticker. Go and look at the price. So let's not go there right now. But yes, Meta probably might become more understandable, researchable, etc. Look at these topics, COVID. As I said, well, everybody's doing it, and there's a consumer perception about close down this, then. Everybody's doing it. It's not very interesting, okay? What is interesting is supply chain disruption that happened, okay? Do you have data for that? Well, did you work in industry? Yes. Do you have connections? Yes. Well, channel those, okay? And do something with that. That's the kind of thing you can do. Like, we couldn't do it, but fortunately, we are 4 people, we got together. We pulled together $2,000 each that we had for our grant money. That's $8,000. We paid $25 each to the supply chain managers. We collected data. Now, that data is gold, because even if it's a quick and dirty research, if it is about something that shook the world, that is going to carry weight. Your context, the problematizing that we're talking about, that just becomes, it's going to be, you don't have to sell it. But don't just do something that so many other people are doing because it is so obvious. So how do you get data? Well, in my case, I said, we pull our money and we got data. We didn't go to consumers because we knew everybody's doing it. The key thing is, in fact, we got the review back and we submitted as a research note, which is like a little bit minor thing. And one reviewer, I have never heard that before. One reviewer wrote, your contribution is too much for a research note. This is a damn good paper. Don't just, discount yourself. And that's exactly what I was telling my co-authors, that send it to one of the top 5 journals. Why are you sending this to this? Because this is something you are selling gold at the price of silver. Okay? So you need to get that, this is the problem that is very current. Everybody thinks about it. So that becomes relevant. Well, where do I get the data? Okay. So practically, what would I do? Okay, Twitter has academic division. Okay, Google it. Twitter has academic division, assuming that Elon Musk did not fire them, because he fired 60% of them. But assuming that he did not fire them, you send them your credentials, they will give you access to free data, free tweets, millions of those. That's your data, okay? Now that's gonna give you maybe B-level journal, okay? Where you do the sentiment analysis, for example. You figure out what's your research interest that's served with that. But if you want A-level with that, I would probably do that, and then I'll do event analysis. Okay? If you don't know what is event analysis, go learn it. That's fine. Just Google, learn it yourself. It's not a big deal. You don't have to take a class. I didn't take a class in that. That's not an excuse. You can just go and do it. Okay? So learn event analysis. Combine that with that. You got an A level, genuine candidate with that. Okay, provided you're rooting it into something very real. Okay, what else I can do? I would probably, look at some article, let's say automobile related article, market related article that published maybe 5 years, 10 years, in an age journal or something. I would look at that, how the data was collected. That was before COVID. I would see that, can I collect similar kind of data after COVID and do the comparison? For that, you have to contact that author, have some sort of, tangent with them. That's your idea, that's your paper, that is so valuable because it does A and B, okay? If you just do literature review, that's okay, I mean, that's fine, but that's not gonna get you an A. You probably do meta-analysis, okay? Well, you do meta-analysis, you don't know how to do it, again, learn it, it's not very hard, learn it. So you look at the topic, and then you say, in these last 20 years, that data is already there. These are all the articles freely available. You pull those articles, look at all the IVs, look at all independent variables, look at all the dependent variables. What are the key ones? Find the elasticity. How that thing moved across these many studies, how that thing moved. That's the free data. And that's the A-level genuine candidate that you can do. Okay? So all of this, I mean, I just wanted to make sure that, if I were a PhD student sitting here, this is what I would say that that's where I create value. In terms of someone looks at it and says, this is relevant, this is rigorous, it has implications for the managers, it's in the real world, and it's something that's very, very interesting. So you don't have to have a lot of money for that, but you do need all this kind of, resourcefulness for doing it. So I just want to make sure that I do that.
I'm afraid we'll be able to take only one last question, and we have to wind up by 6:30. So, ma'am, yes.
Very quickly, ma'am, this question, while going through your slides, you very quickly passed through one slide where there was some mention of special issues. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, so special issue, I think it was more from the idea side, right? So sometimes you feel that, okay, I want to do something, relevant to, like, for example, innovation, or like say something in frugal innovation, right? No, I'm coming to that. So now, when you have some idea, but you really don't know what exactly I can do that, so faster to just, just give some speed to your idea generation. The special issue CFP works, in a quite helpful manner. I'll tell you why. Because when the call for paper are being written for any special issue, like for an example, there is a special issue on frugal innovation, right? So the guest editors who will be writing the CFP, they actually do a thorough research on it. What has been done? What can one do? And what has to be done, maybe in terms of future direction. And they provide you some set of questions or the directions that maybe the articles which comes in this special issue should focus on these areas, because rest of the things are already being done. So if you do not have much time and patience in terms of getting into the core of like getting the seminal paper on frugal innovation 50 years back or 25 years back and then read reverse, right? So if you don't want to do it, CFP helps, right? Because believe me, if it is a good journal and if it is genuinely people are putting in effort, even writing a CFP is like writing a paper, right? It takes time. It takes a lot of time. We just finished like writing one, on A-star CF, like special issue CFP. It literally took me almost 2 months to, figure it out that how I want to plan that special issue. So that's how the idea can be taken off here. So maybe one more question we can take. We have 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's having the hand.
All right. Okay.
No, it's not my hand up.
No, there's
No,
a
my-
guy.
There is a guy in the front.
Yes.
Thank you very much for enlightening talk. I'm from IRMA. So my question basically deals with that how you think about an early career researcher having a research program vis-a-vis the opportunities that comes from the network. So the networks probably will give you opportunities in topics that we are not very have expertise on, and probably that you could pulled up in so many different topics and so many different directions that your whole research program starts suffering and you start lagging behind. So should we start saying no? How you balance it off? Okay, thank you very much.
Take this question.
Yeah, it's always a very, very difficult choice. But my advice, and probably my co-panelists will probably agree, do not do anything that disrupts your PhD and your thesis. You will be neither here nor there. So if you are on top of your thesis and are confident that you will complete on time and complete it successfully, then, and also don't go for a completely new topic. It could be an offshoot of your own topic that's easier for you. You don't want to go down a literature stream that is very different from yours, and you lose focus. So when you are doing research, there will be different streams. Your focus for your thesis would be some, but those that branch out is something that you should look out for and see if there are any collaborations.
Yeah, I think what we used to say for cases like that, PhD students don't get tenure. You have to first get PhD, get a job, then you get tenure. So you have to keep that in mind.
I will add one more dimension to it. Maybe the early career is not just for the PhD student, even it is very much valid for the assistant professors also. I feel we call it opportunistic hopping, right? And when we do that okay, somebody is telling you, okay, write few things here, collect some data, we will put your name here and there. That kind of work, if that is networking, please, I would say that don't go by that. Because that will not actually give you the fruits what you want. Developing your own domain is important. Developing a stream for yourself is critical. Publish less, even if you're publishing in a low tier, but publish in the area where your conviction is. It's not that, I got a network is telling me to be part of those 10 people, 15 people, 25 people or 4 people, and I just hop in and I get the A paper and just come up it. I'm telling you, world is watching you. Very soon that cloud will also burst at some point in time when people see, even in the recruitment, like I'm coming from MICA and I'm also chairing the faculty recruitment committee there, and we clearly scan the CV, that whether it is an opportunistic hopping publication happening or a person is genuinely building a domain for himself or herself. So I believe that is just stick to what you are doing and then see who are the people with whom you can collaborate in that area.
Yeah, I think normally we would like to have a portfolio model. You have 3-4 portfolio, one for this subject area, other one this one, third one this one, and you can't have too many of those because there's a limit to what you can handle. So, and people can tell when you are just doing too much hopping, they can tell that you're being too opportunistic and it's probably not,
Pratik, the lady here in the center. Yeah, the lady at the center, she's been raising her hand for long.
18 o'clock was the time, 18:30, you can discuss with them offline, they are available. They will be available to you today, tomorrow, so please wind up.
Okay, so we don't want to. Ma'am, can you be very quick and so with your permission, just in 2 minutes time, then we'll wind up. Okay, yeah, sorry.
I'm really sorry for holding everybody up, but I just have to ask this. The thing is that when we send our paper and it moves to review, now after that, sometimes it takes 5 to 6 months and it is still in the review. So the point what I want to ask is that very naturally you really want to write to the editor and ask the status of this thing. So at what point in time do we really think about writing back, because you're waiting for the review to come, 6 months ho gaye, and then you're still kind of waiting, so you really don't know whether to write or then still hold back because you don't want to offend, but at the same time you really want to know. So
see, I understand your question. So usually
2.5 to 3 months you should give, because it takes that much time. 2 months time usually is being given to the reviewer.
But if it is getting beyond that, then you can certainly write to the editor and ask for the status. But at the same time, I'm telling you what is happening. Like if it has happened in last 2 years or 2.5 years, I have suffered as an editor. Like many times, a single manuscript sent to 15 people for the review, and reviewers are declining because maybe the reviewer is not well, the family member, they are declining, they are too busy, they are medical emergencies. So because of the COVID thing, if it has happened in last 2 years, I think you should give a benefit of doubt to the editor, to the AE and to the reviewers, because many times, even sometimes it happens like I was not able to do few things at an AE desk, so because I had the emergency at my home. So maybe keeping those things in consideration, and still you can write to the editor asking that I understand the scenario, but can I have the update? So that is not a issue.
Yeah, and if you decide to write, please write very nicely.
Okay, I really hate to bring this session to an end. I'm sure it's very engaging. The audience is definitely. I'm really grateful to the panelists for accepting our invitation, making space, and then sharing their expertise, their ideas with us on quality publications. I have 2 more announcements. One, we have another very engaging, interesting workshop on structured literature review tomorrow morning happening. Professor Saurabh Bora is here. So again, thank you. You have also helped us in making this conference add value to the community. So please be there on time. We have taken some kind of account. He is going to share his own work to explain the idea of structural literature review. So we have kept 60 copies printed and ready in the morning for collection. So we request you to kindly be there on time. And one final thing, 7:30, the gala dinner is waiting. So please be there. And I hope you probably put the advice to practice networking there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.